everyone, welcome to the Stitches and Scribbles channel. My name is Erin and I have a tutorial for you today. So a couple weeks ago I don't know how many weeks ago because I don't know what order I'm uploading things in, but I did a tutorial for a knit dice bag or jewelry bag, so I figured it was only fair to do a crochet version. So this is the one that we'll be making today. It's just a simple single crochet little drawstring bag, but I figured I'd show you exactly how I made it and how to put it together so that you can make your own if you're a crocheter and not a knitter. So without further ado, let's dive right into the tutorial. To make this dice bag or jewelry bag, you're going to need a couple of supplies. The first is a crochet hook. I would recommend one that is on the smaller side for the yarn that you pick because you don't want a ton of holes or gaps in the bag you're making, especially if you're using this for jewelry instead of dice. So I have a 2.5mm hook that I'll be using today, and I am using a sock weight yarn. You can use the yarn weight of your choice. I'm going with sock weight because my goal is to make a really small bag. This yarn, I believe, is Hobie Dream Color, but I don't remember because it's actually in my scrap bin. So unclear what this one is, but I think it's Hobie Dream Color. I'm like 90% sure. No idea what the color name or number is, but any yarn of your choice will do, specifically a sock weight yarn if you want something small. And then, like with most knit and crochet projects, you're also going to need scissors and a yarn needle to weave in ends when we're finished. To start off this bag, we're going to chain slightly less than what we want the final width of the bag to be. So I'm just going to grab my hook and count as I go. So we'll start with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, maybe a couple more, 15, 16, 17. That looks like about the width I want. I'm going to do one additional stitch, so that's 18. Now I'm going to single crochet across one side of my chain. We are going to eventually go back into the other end and kind of flip our stitches around, but I'll show you what that means when we get there. So I have 17 stitches I'll be working into. I'm going to count 16 because we're going to do something different in the last one. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. Oh, that one's kind of stuck. There's 16. For our last stitch, we're actually going to work an increase that we'll use for the rest of the project. So you're going to insert your hook, single crochet once, you're going to chain 1, and then single crochet into that same stitch again. So you now have 2 stitches in that one stitch with a chain 1 between them. Then you're going to do 16 single crochet back across the bottom of that chain that you already worked. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. So we got to 15. 16 can be kind of tough because it gets a little funky here at the edge. You can kind of just stick your hook in, pick a spot for your 16th stitch, complete it, chain 1, and then we're going to join to our first single crochet from the last row with a slip stitch. So you've now completed 1 row. It should be single crochets with a slip stitch, not a slip stitch, a chain stitch on either end that will work our increases into. This can be a little hard to see for the first couple rows, but you'll eventually get the hang of it. To start the next row, you chain 1 and then single crochet into that same stitch, preferably without splitting your yarn. Let's try that again. Okay, now we're going to single crochet across until we get to our chain space at the end. Almost there. You might have to pull at your stitches a little bit to find that chain space. I have 1 more single crochet and then I have my chain space. So into the chain space, so underneath that slight little gap it's going to form, you're going to work a single crochet, another chain 1, and another single crochet, all in that same space. Then you're going to continue your normal single crochets across. And again, this can be really hard to see what you're doing. I'm even having a little trouble seeing what I'm doing, partially because of how small the yarn is, and also just because of the tightness of the stitches. But it's also not a project where counting matters that much. If you're off by a couple stitches, it's really not going to matter. The point is really just to have those increases sort of on either end. So again, we're just single crocheting across. Looks like I skipped a stitch. Fix that. One more, and then I'm at my chain 1 space. So in that chain 1, I'm going to work a single crochet, another chain 1, and another single crochet, and then I have 1 more single crochet to work before I join, and then join with a slip stitch to the beginning of the row. So you should have this kind of rectangular, not rectangular, oval shape forming with the increases on either side. You're going to continue those increases in the chain 1 space for as many rows as you want until your bag reaches its actual desired width. You'll also eventually start kind of folding it over itself, and then this becomes the bottom of the bag. So go ahead and work a couple more rows until you've reached your actual desired width, and then I'll show you what to do next. I ended up doing 4 total rows from the beginning before I decided I was at the point that I wanted. So you should still have kind of an oval shape like this. And from here on out, you're just going to work plain stitches to build up the height of your bag. This is where, if you want to, you can get really creative with the process. I'm going to stick to just single crochet for the purposes of this video, but you could add in some textured stitches, you could add in some like fun bobble stitches, some like, I think crocodile stitch would look really cool to make it look like dragon scales, but that's going to depend on the number of total stitches you ended up with. For me, I'm just going to single crochet in the round until the bag is the desired height. As far as where you worked your increases, you can choose to either just skip the chain stitch that you did or work 1 stitch into the chain space instead of an increase. But at this point, we are going to stop increasing and just do single crochet until you reach your desired height. At this point in the tutorial, you probably already know how to do single crochet, so I'm not going to spend time showing it on camera, but I'll check back in with you when we reach the next step. Once your project looks like this, you're ready to start the next step. I kind of just continued doing rows until it was almost a square shape, but you can go however long or short you want to. That's just the length that typically works for me. Now we're going to start making the track for the drawstring to go through. So I'm going to start this by doing 3 chains, and this is going to act as 4 chains. This is going to act as a double crochet and a chain 1. So then I'm going to skip my next stitch and do a double crochet in the second stitch away. Then I'm going to chain 1, skip 1 stitch, double crochet. Whoops. This yarn is being very splitty, so I'm having a little bit of trouble getting stitches to work, but that's okay. You're going to keep doing this double crochet, chain 1, skip 1 pattern all the way around. And what this is going to do is give you a spot to weave your drawstring through. I also use this technique for my soap saver bags, and those I actually do on my knitting machine, and then I crochet this little track for the drawstrings, but you can use it for any sort of a drawstring bag. I just find it's the easiest way to get a drawstring through a crocheted piece, or even to use it as an edging on a knitted piece. But it's just a super simple method to achieve this. I forgot to mention this earlier, but this is also a great project to use up some yarn scraps. I obviously had quite a bit of this sock yarn left, but you could definitely do it with a mini skein, anything where you've got like, not like a tiny scrap, but enough of a ball left over that you could do this. You could also make this a truly scrappy project and just use a bunch of little scraps and make it striped or patterned in some way. Almost there. And we're going to finish with a chain 1 and slip stitching into the 3rd chain from our original chain 3. Losing my stitches again. Here we go. Nope. There we go. No. I'm struggling today. Probably because this is also the 3rd video I filmed today, but that's okay. Then you're going to go ahead and trim your end and pull that through. So now all that's left to do is to make the drawstring itself. So I'm going to put my little bag off to the side. And I am just going to chain stitch until I get to my desired length. Usually this is somewhere around 60 to 70 chains, but most of the time I don't really count. You can count if you want some consistency, or if you're making a bunch of bags that you want to be identical, you can count your stitches to make sure that they're all the same, but I generally just go until it looks like I have enough. And when I say enough, that's usually 4 times the width of the bag, so that it can go all the way around and still have some length hanging off of the edge. This is by far the easiest part of the project. You could choose a thicker cord here if you wanted to, like you could do foundation single crochet, but I find that chain stitches work just fine. Keep going. Now I'm going to stop to check. And that looks pretty good. So I'm going to stop chaining. Pull my end through, and I'm going to grab a yarn needle. Luckily I have one right on hand here because I forgot to actually get it out. And you're going to thread your string from the end onto your yarn needle, and then just weave back and forth between those double crochet stitches to add in your drawstring. Again, super easy. Just like that. I'm going to pull the ends of these pretty tight and then trim them off. And then all you have left to do is weave in your ends from the bag. And that's going to be it for this little bag. I went ahead and wove in the ends. This one turned out slightly bigger than a lot of my other dice bags, but as I said earlier, you can totally adjust the number of stitches you start with so that it fits whatever you want it to fit. You could even make it much bigger to use as like even an e-reader cover or a phone case or something like that. But that's it for our little dice bag. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial. If you liked what you saw here today, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below so that you can be notified of all of my crafty content here on YouTube. And if you'd like to follow me on other social media, that information will be in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye everyone!